Okay, with the fallout from the Ben Barber and the Dylan Narper scandals that the NRL have been dealing with the last couple of weeks, well, I'm going to have a look at Todd Greenberg, and is he the right man to be the NRL CEO? He's been there for 3 years now in March. He was previously in the NRL head of football for 3 years. So 6 years ago, he was appointed head of football in the NRL. So he's been with the NRL now for 6 years. Before that, he was working at the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs, and he had a brief stint between stints at the Bankstown Bulldogs at Canterbury, with the ANZ Stadium being their public relations officer. So he's worked within rugby league since 2001. So he knows the game fair enough. When he took over, he replaced an acting CEO. Yes, that's how disorganised the NRL is at the top. John Grant was the acting CEO on a temporary basis. This is in the aftermath of the Cronulla peptide scandal that caused huge shifts at the top of the game. So he takes over in 2016. The first thing in his inbox is dealing with the Parramatta Eels salary cap breach. Now, I think the way he dealt with it is different to the other two salary cap breaches. They fined Parramatta, deregistered 5 of their officials from ever working in rugby league again, and gave them a 12-point fine and punishment. So he fined them, deregistered some officials, and they were docked 12 points in the league structure, which meant that the Gold Coast Titans got to finals footy that year. Had they not been docked points, they wouldn't have made it, and Parramatta would have. But that's a whole other kettle of fish, whether it was right or wrong to dock Parramatta points. Manly Sea Eagles then breached the salary cap the following season in 2017, and last season and beginning of this year, Cronulla have had their salary cap breach exposed. Now, Cronulla self-reported. Manly uncovered by a police investigation to match fixing. I could have put match fixing allegations in here as well as part of Todd Greenberg's time in charge, but I decided to keep with things that I know more about. And the Parramatta Eels, that was already an ongoing issue as he took over, and that was the first thing he dealt with. But with the Parramatta Eels salary cap scandal, he did come out and say we shouldn't. This cannot be tolerated. We must never again have a salary cap breach. The salary cap is there for a reason. This must not happen again. It's happened twice more, so clearly the clubs don't care. Whether that was historical breaches that were uncovered later on, and we're waiting to find out the next salary cap breach, I don't know. But that says to me the salary cap is not working. It's failing. The system is broken. It needs to be fixed. And from what I'm getting from what I've read and what I've seen, the NRL doesn't seem to be wanting to fix that just yet. I think the plan they have is to go through to the next round of TV rights and then change the salary cap system. That may be too late. I think these salary cap breaches really damage the integrity of the NRL, considering that we've already had the Warriors have one, the Bulldogs, where he used to work, have one, and the Melbourne Storm. We can't. That was scattered over a lengthy period of time, nearly 20 years. We've had 3 and 3. That says to me the system is more broken than it's ever been. Then we get on to the player scandals. The player scandals that I think have led me to do this video is the reaction to Ben Barber with the lifetime ban, Dylan Narper facing a lengthy suspension up to 6, maybe 8 weeks for something that he claims he was not aware he was being filmed. And everything in the footage is all legal. So I really don't get the going after Dylan Narper. I really don't. And the Greg Inglis drink driving last year. Obviously, Greg Inglis was named Australian captain, and the next day he's convicted. He's over the limit drink driving. So he was captain for 24 hours. Yeah, he was found guilty, but he gets a slap on the wrist. He even got a character reference from Todd Greenberg of what a nice guy Greg Inglis is. But Ben Barber, without even being charged with an offence, you're banned for life. Now, Ben Barber, yes, he does have a history with domestic violence and drugs. He got caught with cocaine. But that sets a dangerous precedent that if found innocent, Ben Barber could take the NRL to court. He could. He really could. Dylan Narper, the Dylan Narper tapes, they were filmed back in 2013, allegedly, when he was a Roosters player. He's now signed with the Bulldogs in the off-season, but he was a Roosters player at the time, and his camp and his agents and himself have come out and said he wasn't aware he was being filmed doing totally legal things. Now, morally, they may not be acceptable to everyone, but legally, he's done nothing wrong. The fact the tapes have been released without his consent, or so he says, that's the crime. But he's facing a suspension from the NRL. Yeah, don't think that's right either. Greg Inglis getting no suspension from the NRL and a little slap on the wrist and a character reference in court from Todd Greenberg, because Todd Greenberg, loves Greg. The more serious ones that I think were dealt with weekly were the cocaine scandal of 2017 involving 3 Kiwi internationals. Proctor and Bromwich were obviously on Anzac Test duty in Canberra. They lost that Test match, and they were caught out that evening in a bar doing cocaine under a police operation where they were actually looking at the dealer who supplied them the drugs. Sean Kennedy was arrested on the suspicion of intent to supply the day before, and that all came out within a few hours of each other on the Anzac Test weekend, on Anzac Test Day back in 2017. This was a big, massive blow. They just had Ben Barber suspended for cocaine, and later on that year there will be several players in the Super League, including Zach Hardacre, who played in the NRL this season, also falling foul of the cocaine. Yeah. None of these players were deregistered or suspended by the NRL. They were internally suspended by their clubs and their country. So Sean Kennedy was moved out of the Roosters, he has a track record of assault allegations, domestic violence, and drugs. He's never been deregistered by the NRL, not once. So he's moved on to the Dragons. Proctor and Bromwich were stripped of the captaincy and vice captaincy of New Zealand, and were both Jesse Bromwich and Kevin Proctor were both stood down for two games by their clubs, and were stripped of leadership roles within their clubs at Gold Coast and at Melbourne. They had no previous history of misdeeds off the field. The NRL does nothing with these players. That's under Todd Greenberg's watch. Suddenly, Ben Barber, life ban. You can see where I'm a bit lost here with the leadership of the NRL by Todd Greenberg, because each individual player is getting different there's a code of conduct. Clearly, it's not working. The salary cap is not working. And Todd Greenberg and his administration of the NRL seems to be very reactionary rather than proactive. There are other players that I could have put on this list. Jared Hayne, he's had a lot of off-field drama the last 12 months. I could have put Jared Hayne on here, but I've discussed Jared Hayne already on the channel this last few months. I think before Christmas I did a video on Jared Hayne where he'll be playing this year. He's a registered player. No one signed him, and he's got his own legal issues. But the NRL haven't deregistered Jared Hayne because of his legal troubles. So I don't quite understand where Todd Greenberg's coming from. I can understand he wants to clean up the image of the game. I completely understand that. But there is a reason why players and teams keep misbehaving and breaking the rules, and players keep getting in trouble. It's the culture of the NRL. The clubs, they see the salary cap as a system they can cheat because it's weak, and they see the enforcement of it as weak because Cronulla self-reported. Manly were found out by a police investigation to match fixing, which I could have put on here as scandal, but I didn't because that's still an ongoing investigation. And the Parramatta Eels were done by a whistleblower. Because that says to me the salary cap system isn't working. It's not. Parramatta got the strongest punishment on the points table side of things, but Cronulla have had their coach deregistered and fired, basically. And they could be facing their CEO, who's done the right thing, being thrown under the bus by the NRL. Manly, they got a very soft way out. They got the least punishable of the three, yet their salary cap breach was exactly the same as Parramatta's. Exactly the same. So I don't understand Greenberg's position on those salary cap issues. And the player issues, okay, yes, Ben Barber has done a reprehensible thing, but he's not been found guilty in a court of law. He may be guilty in the court of public opinion, but in court of law he hasn't been charged yet. So it's very dangerous for the NRL to ban a player for life without criminal charges being brought or a court case. Dylan Napa, he himself has done nothing wrong. The fact that he was filmed without his permission is what he's claiming. The NRL have to be careful with Dylan Napa as well. I think he could be the scapegoat for a lot of the issues, saying we're going to make an example out of Napa as well. I think Ben Barber and Dylan Napa are going to be examples set by the NRL, and I think that's wrong as well. And Greg Inglis hardly getting a punishment from the NRL, but getting a sympathetic pat on the back. I know Greg Inglis has had mental health issues and injury problems, and he was very open about that when he had his knee issues a couple of years ago. But he still broke the law, and he has to face the consequences of that. So I don't know. And the three Kiwis in Kennedy, Proctor and Bromwich and their cocaine misdeeds, they were never punished by the NRL. So Todd Greenberg, I don't know what is going to happen going forward, but he seems to be a very reactionary, not proactive CEO. And I think, is he the right man for me? No. I have no trust in Todd Greenberg because the salary caps keep getting broken. Consistent breaches. I'm waiting for one this season. I'm waiting for a salary cap to be broken this year by a club. And the player misbehaviour is just, I think I've never come across a league with so much off-field indiscretion by players. I could have put a hell of a lot more players on this list. I really could have, but I kept it to 6. And again, that's all in the last year and a half. That's all in the last year and a half. And these are big name players. These aren't your average, your squad players. These are all big name rep players. They played rep footy. They've won the comp. They played international footy. These are big household names. These are big name players. They're misbehaving. So what does that say about the leadership of the NRL? And is Todd Greenberg the right guy? I'm going no because it's just been nothing but scandal for 3 years. That's my personal view on it. If you have strong leadership, these scandals are less and less likely to happen because I know this guy's a strong guy. He's going to lay down the law from day one. From day one, he's been reacting to problem after problem after problem. Is that all his fault? No, but is he the right guy? Not for me. I don't know who replaces him. I don't know if anyone else would have had the same issues. But the playing group is not behaving clearly. There's an issue within the registered players that play in the NRL. And that comes down to the Players' Union and the NRL coming around a table and going, right, this is the code of conduct going forward. Here's the punishments accordingly for what happens. But the salary cap breaches as well, that's not helping the league's image. But there we go. Thank you very much for watching. That's my view on Todd Greenberg. Place your thoughts below if you think I'm wrong anywhere or right, or if I missed any scandals out, because I know there's plenty of other players I could have mentioned. I mentioned Jared Hayne without putting him on the board. I've done videos on Jared Hayne. But there we go. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll have some more videos for you soon.